yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Ma yafe hayom, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Boikala, 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 boikala. Boikala, 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 boikala. Lechadodi, likrat kala, pinei Shabbat nikabela.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to all of you. It's so nice. We saw the different faces of people who have decided it's time to come back. What is that?
Got some extra background music to welcome you.
Oh, it sounded like
okay.
the tiki room in Disneyland or something. That was nice. Well, welcome, and we're looking forward to Joanne's bat mitzvah tomorrow morning. These flowers are gorgeous. Thank you. And we're going to begin with the lighting of the candles. I have to watch out what Micha Mocha we sing tonight. I see you're back. Okay. So
all
please.
Right. Yeah, Joanna and your family, everyone who wants to come on up, you guys can come help us light candles.
May the Shabbat candles that we now light inspire us to see justly and gently, to look honestly and with kindness, and to see what's holy in each other.
Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam
asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'adlik ner shel
Thank you.
Okay.
We turn in our prayer books now to page 4 at the bottom of the page. Hinei ma tov, how good and pleasant it is for all of us to be together after a long winter. You're all back. It's great to see. And for all those that are viewing from all over, we're glad to have you joining with us again as well.
And it is so good that we have this opportunity finally to be here, all here in this space together. So please take a moment to introduce yourself or to say Shabbat Shalom to someone sitting nearby. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim. Shevet achim gam yachad. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לה, יאללה לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, יאללה לה, יאללה לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
In the middle of page 8, at the bottom of the page, we'll continue with our family prayer. May we never take for granted the gift of Shabbat as we sit nestled in the Rocky Mountains, sharing this humble moment with family and friends. May the satisfaction of celebrating Shabbat hearten our spirits. Let Shabbat peace bring quiet to our souls. Allow this time set aside for song and prayer to bring us closer together in thoughts and deeds. Glowing with reverence and filled with our traditions. And may the end of this week encourage us to examine our actions and let us look ahead toward the new week so we'll be worthy of all of God's blessing. The top of page 8 as we welcome the angels of peace. Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Asharet, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boechem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Vi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
I would imagine some of you have lived through construction in your home. And you know when they say it takes a week, it takes a month, then it takes 6 months, and then they don't have what they need to put into your home. That's what's happening downstairs, where you came to join us. So excuse our dust, but that entire wall that's leading to the outside of the creek is going to be removed, and they're putting up glass walls that move into each other. So it's just the beginning of, we're still allowed down there a little bit, but we're glad that you can put up with a little bit of our construction dust that we have here. Well, as we turn to page 12 at the top of the page, we lift our eyes to our mountains and we ask, from where does our help come? The top of page 12 as we continue.
Shamayim ba'aretz, Ezri me'im Adonai. Oseh shamayim ba'aretz, Esainai el harim, me'ayin me'ayin yavo Ezri. Esainai el harim, me'ayin me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai. Oseh shamayim ba'aretz, Ezri me'im Adonai. Oseh shamayim ba'aretz.
As we go back to the 16th century, to the small village of Svat, at that time it was the center of Jewish mysticism when Shlomo Alkabetz wrote the beautiful song of Lecha Dodi as we welcome the Sabbath bride.
Lecha lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei b'nei Shabbat nekavela Lecha lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei b'nei Shabbat nekavela Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei b'nei Shabbat nekavela Lecha dodi likrat kala Panei Shabbat nekavela Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad Hishmiyanu el miyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shemo tiferet v'litchila Lecha dodi likrat kala Panei Shabbat nekavela Lecha dodi likrat kala Panei Shabbat nekavela Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nilcha Ki yehi mekor ha'miracha Mirosh mikedem nesucha Sof ma'aseh b'machsheva tchila Lecha dodi likrat kala Panei Shabbat nekavela Lecha dodi likrat kala Panei Shabbat nekavela Mikdash melech ir melucha Kumitzi mitoch ha'aflecha Rav lach shevet be'em b'chavacha Vehu yachmol alaychem Lecha dodi likrat kala B'nei Shabbat nekavela Lecha dodi likrat kala Panei Shabbat nekavela.
Bottom of page 18, we rise, face the rear of the sanctuary as we greet the Sabbath bride.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala Gam b'simcha u'b'tzola Toch emunei am segula Boi kala Lecha dodi likrat kala Panei Shabbat nekavela Lecha dodi likrat kala Panei Shabbat nekavela Lecha dodi likrat kala Panei Shabbat nekavela Lecha dodi likrat kala Panei Shabbat nekavela.
You're so good, I don't even have to say you may be seated. Everybody knows exactly what's going on. Well, we'll turn to page 21. It's Psalm 92. It's the psalm for the Sabbath day, but it's also, we're told that this is the first prayer that was recited during the first temple in Jerusalem, one of our oldest prayers. We'll continue responsively in English, the top of page 21. It is good to give thanks to you, O Lord, to praise your name through song, to speak in the morning of your loving kindness and your faithfulness each night. To the music of the lute and the harp, the melody of the lyre, I'll sing with my delight as we continue the bottom of page 20.
Tzadik tamar yifrach ke'erez balavanon yizkeh shetulim bevet Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yenuvun b'seva deshenim
on page 23, we have our wonderful reading of Just for Today, taken from the Boston Globe in 1921. And we also have a group of us that meet every Wednesday. It's been by Zoom. And we go over some amazing topics that you would never talk about from the pulpit. But we have good, heated discussions in a friendly way. And Joel, it's been a while since I've been able to see you live, so I'm going to have you be reading this. From Charlotte, you're always giving a different opinion, which is wonderful. And I'll have you lead us responsibly because I get to see you live for a change. From right there is fine.
Just for today, I will live one day only, forgetting yesterday and tomorrow, and not trying to solve the whole problem of life at once.
Just for today, I'll be unafraid of life and death, unafraid to enjoy the beautiful and be happy. People are as happy as they make up their minds to be.
Just for today, I will adjust myself to what is, and not try to adjust everything to suit me. If I cannot have what I like, I will try to like what I have.
Just for today, I'll be agreeable, cheerful, charitable, do my best, praise people for what they can do, not criticize them for what they cannot do. And if I find fault, I'll forgive it and forget it. I'll try not to improve nor regulate anybody except myself.
Just for today, I will have a plan. I may not follow it exactly, but I will have one. It will save me from worry, hurry, and indecision.
Just for today, I'll get people off my nerves and not get on theirs. I'll appreciate them for what they do and what they are.
Just for today, I will not show it if my feelings are hurt.
Just for today, I'll find a little time for quiet, to relax, to realize what life is and can be. Time to think about God, get a better perspective of myself.
Just for today, I will look at life with fresh eyes and discover the world of it. I will know that as I give to the world, so the world will give to me.
Thank you. Page 24, we're going to rise for she's over here. For our call to worship as our pre-bat mitzvah. Joanne is going to lead us in the Baruch Hu, page 24.
Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la.
Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Thank you. You may be seated. You've loved your people Israel with unceasing love, taught us Torah, mitzvot, and the laws of judgment. The top of page 28 as we continue with the cantor, Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha avta, Amcha avta. Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu lemadeta, Otanu lemadeta. Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shochvenu, uvkumenu nasiach bechukecha, v'nismach Toratecha u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nekeyomam v'layla nekeyomam v'layla ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael Ohev Amo Yisrael.
I know before living here, one of the things that we enjoyed most, probably coming from Denver, is when you all of a sudden arrive and you come down Vail Pass, it says Vail, and you see that entrance, you say, this is pretty nice. And we're glad to be here, and I'm sure it's part of God's wondrous creations. You just get away from it all. Someone actually honked their horn tonight at us. I thought, got to be from New York. I mean, but no one, it just never happens. So we have God's wondrous creations, page 28. As we join together on this Shabbat Eve, we take in the greatness of God's creations. As the snow melts on the mountain peaks on high, let our worries of the week flow away. And as the mountain springs give forth fresh waters, let our souls feel refreshed. As the creeks join streams and become the great rivers, let our faith and love grow stronger. And as we stand in awe of the great beauty of the Rocky Mountains, let our faith in God increase and renew. And let this be Shabbat, a time of peace. And it's obviously time for the Shema. Who else? Okay. Are you ready to lead us? Okay. We join together, page 30.
Shema Elohim Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
Thank you. We join together.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavcha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha vehayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha dishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shachbecha uv'kumecha ug'shartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtabtam al mezuzot beitecha uv'yisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'elohechem ani asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz mitzrayim lehiyot lachem le'elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Okay, enter on page 32. We have that Houston Mifamocha.
Oh,
I know.
which one? Remind me.
Don, I always have to watch and see when you show up because we can get away with it when you're not.
We've got so many to select from.
Yes.
So why don't we do the old traditional one? It's about 5,000.
Okay. Me.
That one, is that the one? Okay.
Okay. All right, we'll give it a try.
Tell me if this is the one that you're talking about. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osef ele, nora tehilot osef ele.
Well, on this Shabbat evening, we seek peace and comfort and shield us from the hatred and destruction that plagues so many corners of our world and console those in need. The top of page 34 as we join with the cantor, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Behamidenu Malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Behamidenu Malkeinu lechaim. Ushmor tzeitzeinu uvoeinu lechaim u'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Behamidenu Malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leShalom Behamidenu Malkeinu lechaim.
Keeping that prayer in mind when we think about shield us from hatred and destruction and all that's going on within the world, I would like to invite many of you who are here already are coming, but we have a Wednesday discussion. It's called Tachlis, meaning get down to brass tacks. And it's what we don't do from the pulpit and we don't discuss on Shabbat. We do it in a very friendly way. So when you have that opportunity to discuss something like what came down from the Supreme Court this past week, two things that are really worth talking about from the Jewish perspective, as well as your own opinions. What we try to do on our Wednesday mornings is to have a friendly discussion where nobody gets angry at each other. But what I did is, just very quickly, I got from the Rabbinical Assembly as well as from the Jewish Community Relations Council here in Colorado. They came up with two statements, and this is what we'll be discussing this week, as we have been discussing for the last several weeks. That the Committee of Law and Standards for the Rabbinical Assembly, which is the movement that I belong to, repeatedly affirmed the right of a pregnant person, to choose an abortion in cases with the continuation of pregnancy that might cause severe physical, psychological harm. What we do in our discussion is we bring up the book of Exodus, and we talk about how within there it talks about the Jewish perspective as to what is legal within abortion from Jewish tradition. What makes it more interesting in our Wednesday discussion in a friendly way is we talk about how it's so different from our opinion, perhaps from other faiths. And under the strictest we have here, under the strictest and most traditional interpretations, Jewish law mandates the termination of a pregnancy in certain circumstances for the life or health of the mother is allowed. And again, they're quoting from the Bible and from the Talmud. So I invite you to come and join us Wednesday. I know Joel's been with us every single week out of Charlotte. We've had others. And I think it's important to be able to give all points of view from all of you. And we do it in a way that we learn something together about that, and also the rule that came down about guns that came down from New York State. And we've been doing it every single week. No, there's no politics in this one, that's for sure. And we're pretty careful. I just push mute, and then we just keep on going. But that's what's nice about it. We're friendly. We don't talk about politics. Don, you've been to many, many of these that we've done this past year. So I invite you to come join us for those discussions. It's 9 o'clock Wednesday morning, and you just write to me, and I'll send you the Zoom that we do. And people, you should hear Keith Spiro screaming from Cleveland. You know, it's great. So we've never had anybody from Denver. It's been from all over the country, all of our membership. But because this subject is really critical to our understanding, we get into the Jewish perspective, and I think that's important. Page 36, as we continue Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם, ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת שבת ויהי נפש שבת, שבת ויהי נפש, שבת שבת ויהי נפש.
Or there are those in our community who are in need of healing of body, mind, or spirit. If you have a loved one or a person in your life in need of healing, please feel free in a moment to share their name aloud as we move about the sanctuary. Page 38 at the top of the page as we continue. Misha Berach.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
Keep in our thoughts and prayers Gail Balin, Sue Beiser, Linda Cullen, Bonnie Colton, Blanche Deutsch, Lynn Deutschman, Carol and Finn, David Fried, Jane Friedman, Deborah Goldman, Cliff Goldman, Donald Jaffe, Warren Janowitz, Mary Sue Katz, Skip Clowens, Herman Keek, Brian Kushner, Renee Myers, Pedro Prince, Stephen Reese, Chip Ruth, Roberta Scheller, Sam Schwartz, Bill Silvers, Dina Stempler, Maury Strauss, Alan Tenenbaum, Toba Weinstock, Tevi Wellens, Mickey Winokur, Gail Gerber, and Maury Strauss. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Turn to page 40 in our prayer books and rise. We'll continue with the Reader's Kaddish.
Yitkada ve'yitkada shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirtzeh ve'amlich malchuteh, ve'chayechon
Yom Echon U'chayedecho Beit Yisrael Bagala, Uvisman Kari.
Veimeru.
Amen. Yesh Merabam Mivarach. Le'alam Ulameho Maya. Yitbarach.
Yitbarach v'yishtabach, yitpar v'yitromam v'yinaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei d'kudsha, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata.
Tushbechata v'nechemata, Tamiran b'yamam.
Veimeru.
Amen. Be not afraid of silence, that more powerful than the unpolished word. It allows God's voice to be heard and allows tears and doubt to tumble out. Page 42, we continue. Adonai Svatai, and then silently through page 57.
Adonai Svatai tiftach Ufi yagid tehilatecha Adonai Svatai tiftach Ufi yagid tehilatecha. Oh, eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Oh, eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your glory. Adonai Svatai tiftach Ufi yagid tehilatecha Adonai Svatai tiftach Ufi yagid tehilatecha.
What do you want to do? May be seated when you've completed the Amida. We continue with our prayer for peace in the bottom of page 54. Sim Shalom.
Sim Shalom Tova Uveracha. Sim Shalom Tova Uveracha. Sim shalom tova uvracha. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Chen v'chesed, chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Aleinu sim shalom tova uvracha. Sim shalom tova uvracha.
Thank you. In rabbinical school, one of the first sections of the Talmud that we studied, they say it's the easiest. I found none of it to be the easiest, but it was the easiest to understand. And it was a section of the Talmud where there were discussions between the rabbis on claims of possession. Could sound a little dry, but as you delve into it, you realize how interesting it could be. The first example that we were given is there were two neighbors that were arguing over a piece of land and who owned it, who possessed this piece of land. So one says to the rabbi, I own this lovely little piece of land. And the other comes up and says, well, with due respect, this land belongs to me. The first claims it's mine because I planted on it, and then the other one argues back, and he shouts, and he says, it's mine because I'm the one who watered it. Back and forth they go, and he says, it's mine because I harvested it. And the other one says, no, it's really mine because I paid for it. And they go on. Well, the rabbi is watching all of this, and he declares that it's a difficult case. So he says, I must go to the land, and I'm going to investigate. So they walk together. Of course, they're still arguing, and they're saying, the law is on my side, the law is on my side. Finally, the rabbi raises his hand and says, enough already. I've said that before as well. He kneels down, he puts his ear to the ground, and then he rises up and turns to the two arguing Jews, and he declares, you say that the land is mine, you say that the land is mine. Then he points down, and he says, but the land, while pointing up to the heaven, says it belongs to God. Well, it sounds familiar because that's the way, it's a very similar way that our Native Americans have their relationship with the earth as well. But what we learn from this and what the rabbis are trying to explain is that we're just renters. We're passing through, and this is just a very brief time that we're here, and we don't own this. If anything, the earth that's surrounding us owns us. So our rabbis explain this in another way. This time they go outside the text and they go to the biblical text. They say the Torah begins with a vision. It's a vision of creation. The story of creation has, as we know, more than one version. The first one begins with God creating the world. Creation of light, we have the oceans, the vegetation, the sun, the moon. Finally, it's the creatures and then human beings. We read, and God blessed the human beings and said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, v'chivshua. V'chivshua, you should dominate it. Well, all of a sudden we get to the second chapter, and it's a different story because now we have the story of the Garden of Eden. God creates the first human being and puts the human in the midst of the garden and gives the human the responsibility and says to till it and to tend to it. So we have two different stories, fill the earth and dominate it, or till and take care of it and tend to it. Well, one story is using the earth for our own needs. The other story is being connected with the earth and being what they like to describe as a guardian of the earth. Now, while the stories appear to be different, and this is where the Talmud pulls it all together, they say they're really not that different. Where the first one is about the human dominating nature, the second instructs us that not everything that we can do, we may do. We have the power, but we don't have the permission. We have the ability, but we don't have the right to do anything we want with this beautiful world of ours. They say that the earth is not ours. It belongs to God who made it. We're the owners of nature. We are its custodians. And there's a huge distinction. It's a Jewish distinction where they go on to describe how our job is to serve and to care for it. So the story of creation places us, I think, with a very serious task that so many of us take seriously, the tremendous burden that a midrash teaches. They say, when God made Adam and he showed him the scope of creation, that he walked him around the Garden of Eden, and he said to him, see all my works and how beautiful they are. All that I've made for you. Take care and don't destroy my world. For if you do, there's no one left to come after you from what you've destroyed. So what we're described as Shomrei Adamah, which are guardians of the earth. The Torah may be thousands of years old, but its teachings, I think, speak to us today that even in paradise, like we have here, that there are limits. Even in Vail, there is that forbidden fruit, meaning we live by the creek, we have to take care of the creek. We live in the mountains, we take care of where we hike. Not everything we do, may we do. Well, tikkun olam means repairing the world, and it's not just a metaphor that we tend to throw around, but it's the literal language of Judaism, and it tells us that we have to participate in repairing our world. The Talmud declares we're not obligated to complete the task, but neither are we free to desist from it. We must not be numb, we must not be indifferent. But what Judaism says, we're obligated since the time of creation to walk this road together with nature and us as one. So before God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, it's interesting, God asked Moses, he said, who's going to guarantee all these laws are going to endure l'dor vador, from generation to generation? And Moses said his successor, Joshua, is going to take care of it, and God looks down and says, no, that's not going to work. He says, how about the leaders of the tribes? And God looks down, no, that's not going to work either. Then he turns to his synagogue board, the elders of the community, says, for sure not. We're not going to turn to them. So finally he has the idea in this midrash. He says the children are going to be the guarantors of this world. The teachings of the Torah would not be lost from generation to the next. It's our obligation as Jews to be Shomrei Adamah, the guardians of the earth. So in the words of Elie Wiesel, the opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference. The opposite of art is not ugliness, it's indifference. The opposite of faith, it's not heresy, it's indifference. And the opposite of life isn't death, but again, it's indifference. We learn from that it's our obligation as Jews to be Shomrei Adamah, guardians of the earth, and to never show indifference. Amen. Now, would you believe that last year at this time, this was just blank paper, and we get all of our great ideas from all of you. But all of a sudden, I get a call from Kansas City, and Lynn says, we got this singer. Do you think you can use her next year? And we thought, perhaps. And then all of a sudden, she becomes the highlight of our mountaintop. And Sonny bakes some great rugelach, and we think, maybe you should teach us how to make rugelach. And the Strausses say, how about a new Torah? I'm thinking, maybe next year. And all of a sudden, there's going to be a new Torah that we're dedicating this summer. And as I look around, well, that's how all of a sudden we end up with this beautiful cloth from last year's 50th anniversary. So we thank you. So the ideas come from you. And as you can, this is like a nightly thing that Janet is changing, because the times change, more things are being inserted. And we have coming up, most immediately, is our annual meeting, which is coming up on June 28th, and it's at Single Tree Community Center. What I have to emphasize is when you see the newsletter coming in your email box, don't just delete it. You have to open it to see what's going on. And I'm not critical, because if you're running a business or you're another place, a synagogue, they said that 19% of the people open their emails. We have 68%, so you're doing much better. We appreciate that. But in order to come to these events, you need to make reservations, and don't just call Jeannie. You can make her crazy. You go to the newsletter, you just click at the bottom, and your reservation automatically goes in. and we'll be able to see what you want to come for. Next Wednesday, we have B'nai Vail security training. That's a really big deal. That's the only door that we have really to go in and out of, these two doors. So we have security training, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. If you're in town, come to it. We need to know what to do if the worst thing happens to all of us. The security training was done at the synagogue in Texas, and they said that's what really saved them. So it's really, really important that you come on Wednesday, and it's in here. All you have to do is take a look. We have July 2nd, Shabbat morning, we're going to be at the Molina Ranch with the Israeli soldiers. These are soldiers that are there for, it's kind of a therapy that they go through for the horrible things that they've seen. So 15 of them are coming. We want to give them a warm welcome. And if you come to the ranch for a beautiful brunch, you'll then get to share the Shabbat service with all of them. Opioid crisis, someone came to me and said, why aren't you doing anything about it? It's not just a Jewish perspective, but it's really a worldwide problem. And we have an amazing speaker coming in July at the Beaver Creek Chapel. So look on your newsletter, and please sign up for that as well. And you could talk a little bit about the great singer that the Kaufmans are bringing.
I know, we're so excited to be welcoming Colleen Deeker, a nationally and internationally touring Jewish artist, to be joining us at Mountaintop, who will be doing all of the B'nai Vail songs that we know and love with us. So it's very much not a concert. It is an enhancement to our service. And she will be singing, playing violin, and playing keyboard as well. And she requested that we get some percussion too. So we have a whole little tefillah band on the Mountaintop on July 9th that should be outstanding. And then the following day at the Broadskis, we are having, what are we calling it, Janet? I'm sorry.
Institute, B'nai Vail Institute.
B'nai Vail Academy, where we will have several different workshops that you can break off into and go learn about in a small group, and then we will all come together for a little private house concert with me and Colleen. So it should be a wonderful morning. And tomorrow we have Joanne's bat mitzvah. We're so excited. She has worked so hard, just moved to this country a year ago, and is all ready to come on up and lead all of us in prayer tomorrow.
It'll be fabulous. We're really looking forward to it. And we want to also mention the Rocky Mountain Chai, Mark Oppenheimer. There's a brochure in the back, or you have it inside. They are bringing him in. He is through Unorthodox, it's the most listened to blog of anything anywhere in the country. So there's more details in the back as well as found within our calendar. And we just got confirmation yesterday, Dr. Hillel Newman, not related, good name, Consul General for the State of Israel, has agreed to come to Vail for a town hall. And this is just going to be 30 people in a private home. And no cameras, no phones, no recordings, but it's a chance to really find out what's going on in Israel. And that you can register as well. And he'll be first in Aspen, and then I convinced him, as long as you're there, come on here. And he's going to come to Vail. There's so much on here, so please, take these home with you. You have to come back next week to see what we've updated, because it's going to keep on changing, and we'll have new things. And again, you join us on Wednesday, where we have friendly, heated discussions on all kinds of wonderful topics. And a special welcome to all who are watching. We always get about 125 to 150 people that are out there somewhere, and especially our friends at Seacrest who set up all kinds of food, and we're glad to have them out in San Diego as well. Well, this is Joanne's turn. We're going to rise, page 60, join together, Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'atid gedula le'ozer breshit, shelo asanu k'geharatzot, velo samanu k'mishpehot ha'adama, shelo sam kelkinu gahem, v'gor aleinu gehol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, mishtachavim umodim, Livshei Melech, Malchei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, She'unot Hashamayim ve'yosei Aretz, ומשה בקרון השמיים ממעל, ובשינתו זו בידי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אלוקינו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבותה בלבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת מינות. ונאמר והיה אדוני ומלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
At this moment, in memory of our loved ones who are no longer with us, we join hands in love and remembrance. A link has been broken in the chain that bound us together, yet strong bonds of home and love hold us one to another. In solemn testimony to that unbroken faith which links the generations one to another, we call to mind those whose yahrzeit we observe this month. Elizabeth Adler, Madeline Barnett, Mark Bain, Gloria Block, Anna Breitbord, Goldie Cohen, Herbert Dvorkin, Nez Gerson, Harriet Goldberg, Eva Goldman, Bernard Kaplan, Eugene Kleinman, Ludwig Meyer, Raphael Picotto, Karen Pope, Shirley Port, Jacob Rice, Tara Rizzo, Leonard Rothman, Rhea Scheller, Ken Holtz, Marshall Siegel, Lawrence Floss, this last week of one of our members, Igor Leventhal, who passed away last week. If anyone else is observing yahrzeit this month. The Mourner's Cottage can be found in our prayer books on page 64, and those who wish may join with me as we say, Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach chirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, v'agalav izman kari v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei d'kudishah, v'elam kata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imramein. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imramein. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imramein. You may be seated. Again, I can't emphasize enough that on Wednesday we have that double session, morning and afternoon, for security. And the question that we would say is, if you were in here tonight and something happened, would you know what to do? Obviously, it will not be on Zoom or something else, so bad people could watch it and know what we're knowing that we have to do. It's all live, not recorded. So we encourage as many of you to come to that. And he's great. He's a former FBI guy, and he really knows how to do it and teach everything that we would need to know in a very bad situation, apart from having security of Seth and security of Janet at the door, which helps both of us. So welcome back to so many of you. And a tune that we all are familiar with and love, and the regular one we do.
Okay.
I'm not sure what that is.
Which one is that? I don't know. Well,
Any requests for Adon Olam on page 66?
to John Denver. Okay.
Okay.
See, that's the one we know and love.
That's the one. That's our regular.
Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra, Le'et Nasa, V'chefso Kol Azai Melech, Shemo Nikra, Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol, Levado, Yimloch Nora, V'hu Haya, V'hu Oveh, V'hu Yeh, V'tivara, V'hu Echad, ואין שני להמשילו להכבירה בלי ראשית בלי תכלית ולא העוז והמשרה והוא אלי וחגל לי צורכב לי בעת צרה ניסי מנוס לי נקוסי ביום אקרא בידו אבקיר רוחי בעת אישן ואירה ואם רוחי גביעתי אדוני לי ולא אירה אדון עולם אשר מלך טרם כל יציר נברא חפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא.
There was one other discussion that I had throughout the year, and that was before. Oh, you need a photo for this, right? Before we have our mountaintop service, we've been having an amazing breakfast at Chop House. And so I sit down with Marty and I say, so what do you want to do so we can feed 150 people? And we go through the whole menu together. And I thank you for that because it's always an incredible way. They go up on top of the mountain. They're so full, they fall asleep and don't get to watch any of the service. So it's been great. But it's a wonderful time, and we have breakfast before each. Reservations, you've got to go online again to our website, to our newsletter, and you'll find reservations available. We have challah in the back for everyone as well. But first, the family will lead us in Kiddush and Motzi. Joanne, it's your, yeah, here we go.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen l'chaim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Take a drink.
shalom. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Bim